to Australia 101. Everything you need to know to be Australian. Do you want to go to Australia? Nice. Before you can reach your dreams in migrating to the land down under, you have to know a bit about Australia before passing that immigration. Australia. In the eyes of the modern Filipino, it's the land of kangaroos. A place where the Wolverine and Thor was from. But there is more than meets the eye on the land down under. Let me help you learn how to be Australian so you won't mistake that Vegemite as a Nutella ever again. After this lesson, we'll be having prawns in a barbie in the Arvo while enjoying a stubby. Welcome to Australia, where the capital city is Sydney.
Mate, no. The capital city is Canberra. The main cities are Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane and Perth, with a season that's opposite times to those in the Northern Hemisphere. December to February is summer, March to May is autumn, June to August is winter, and September to November is spring.
Sorry mate, it was just a test to see if our audience knows the capital of Australia.
No worries, mate. So, Australia has 6 states and 2 territories. The 6 states are New South Wales, Victoria, Queensland, South Australia, Western Australia, and Tasmania. Whilst the 2 internal territories are the Northern Territory and the Australian Capital Territory. Also, Australia has 8 states and territory capital cities, which are considered major cities: Sydney, New South Wales, Melbourne, Victoria, Brisbane, Queensland, Adelaide, South Australia, Perth, Western Australia, Hobart, Tasmania. Its territory capitals are Canberra, known as Australian Capital Territory, and Darwin as Northern Territory.
And to add to that, it's worth mentioning other large cities like the Gold Coast and Wollongong. While not capital cities, they are significant urban areas. Is that right, Tash?
You're dead set, Liam. Now let's cover each state. First we have NSW, or New South Wales. Australia's most populous state is located on the east coast, bordered by Queensland to the north, Victoria to the south, and South Australia to the west, with the Pacific Ocean to the east. Its capital and largest city is Sydney, known for its iconic harbour and opera house.
The state's eastern coastline faces the Pacific Ocean, including the Coral and Tasman Seas. New South Wales covers a large area, comprising 10.4% of Australia's total land area. The state experiences a warm temperate climate, with variations depending on proximity to the coast and mountains. Its key features are the Great Dividing Range. It is a major mountain range that runs through the state.
The most iconic site in New South Wales would be the Sydney Opera House. Its function as a world-class performing arts centre. The conservation plan specifies the need to balance the roles of the building as an architectural monument and as a state-of-the-art performing centre, thus retaining its authenticity of use and function. Next stop is NT, or Northern Territory. A self-governing territory in Central and Northern Australia, is known for its vast, diverse landscapes, including the iconic Red Centre, and its rich Aboriginal culture. It is bordered by Western Australia to the west, South Australia to the south, and Queensland to the east. The Red Centre is an extraordinary landscape of desert plains, weathered mountain ranges, rocky gorges, and some of Aboriginal Australia's most sacred sites, including Uluru and Cartertijua.
To the north, it borders the Timor Sea, the Arafura Sea, and the Gulf of Carpentaria. It's the 3rd largest state and territory in Australia, covering an area of approximately 1,349,129 square kilometres. Darwin is the capital city, and Alice Springs is the only sizable town besides the capital. It is home to the famous Ayers Rock, a massive sandstone monolith in the heart of the Northern Territory's arid, red centre. For the Aboriginal people of Australia, Ayers Rock, also known as Uluru, is a sacred site deeply intertwined with their culture and spiritual beliefs. They believe Uluru was formed during the Dreamtime, a period when ancestral beings created the land and life. The Anangu people, who are the traditional owners of the area, believe that the spirits of these ancestors continue to dwell within Uluru and the surrounding landscape.
That's quite an information about the traditions of Aborigines, Liam. Thanks. Now we move to Queensland. Queensland, Australia's second largest state, is known for its diverse landscapes, ranging from the Great Barrier Reef to tropical rainforests and the rugged outback, and is often called the Sunshine State due to its warm, tropical climate. Queensland is the second largest state in Australia, covering over 22% of the continent. The capital city of Queensland is Brisbane. Its coastal regions are sandy beaches, tropical islands, and the Great Barrier Reef. Its outback have rugged landscapes, deserts, and savanna regions. And the state also has wet tropics, including Daintree National Park, and other rainforest areas. There is also the Great Dividing Range runs the length of the state.
We have a lot to say about Queensland. This state almost have everything. The most notable site would be the Great Barrier Reef. Any fans of Finding Nemo here? He's out there living in one of the anemones. The Great Barrier Reef, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, is a major tourist attraction and a diver's paradise. We have a couple of divers here in the office. Looking at you, Krish. Queensland has a population of over 5 million people and its economy majorly depends on important industries include tourism, mining, and cattle ranching. Queensland was charted by Captain James Cook in 1770, and in the 19th century, the state housed penal colonies and drew settlers to mine its gold. The state is also named Queensland to honour Queen Victoria.
I agree, Liam. Queensland does have everything. Now, we move to South Australia. South Australia, a state in southern Central Australia, is known for its vast plains, low uplands, and arid interior, including the Flinders Ranges and Lake Eyre, as well as its world-renowned wine regions like Barossa and Clare Valley. It is the fourth largest of Australia's states and territories, with a total land area of 984,321 square kilometres. The state is characterised by vast plains, low uplands, and extensive salt or clay-encrusted lake beds. It has a dry climate, with cool winters and warm summers. Southern areas have a Mediterranean climate, while the rest of the state has a drier arid and semi-arid climate.
South Australia has notable locations like Flinders Ranges, a mountain range in the northeast, offering accessible outback experiences. Lake Eyre, a large salt lake in the interior that rarely contains water. And Murray River, the only major river in the state, providing water for Adelaide. South Australia is the first Australian colony established for free settlers. And in 1894, it is the first electorate in the world to give equal political rights to both men and women. After 2 decades of efforts throughout Australia by women's groups such as the Women's Christian Temperance Union, South Australia became the first state to enfranchise women.
Hooray to our foremothers! Next is Tasmania. Anyone familiar with the Tasmanian Devil? Tasmania, an island state of Australia, is located south of the mainland, known for its diverse landscapes, rugged wilderness, and unique wildlife, including the iconic Tasmanian Devil. It's the 26th largest island in the world and encompasses the main island of Tasmania and surrounding smaller islands. The state's capital and largest city is Hobart. Tasmania is known for its diverse landscapes, including mountainous regions, plateaus, and coastal areas. In Tasmania, other than the Tassie Devil, the highest peak in Tasmania is Mount Ossa, rising to 5,305 feet. Mount Ossa's story is deeply rooted in Greek mythology. It's a mountain in Thessaly, Greece, known for being the site of the giants' attempt to reach heaven by stacking it atop Mount Pelion, and then piling those two on top of Mount Olympus. This act, according to myth, was their way of warring against the gods.
That's one of my favorite stories in Greek mythology. Also, Tasmania has the cleanest air in the world, monitored by the Cape Grim Baseline Air Pollution Station. The lack of pollution is due to the position of Tasmania in the Southern Ocean, far from other land masses.
Next stop is Victoria. A state in southeastern Australia, is known for its diverse landscapes, from the Australian Alps to coastal regions, and is home to the capital city, Melbourne, a cultural and economic hub. It's the second smallest state in Australia, with a land area of 227,444 square kilometres. The state features a variety of landscapes, including the Australian Alps in the east, coastal regions, and flat plains in the north and west. Melbourne is the capital city of Victoria, and is also the largest and the most populous city. Geelong, Ballarat, and Bendigo are other significant cities in Victoria.
The foodie, cultural and sports-loving capital city of Melbourne has enough to keep visitors entertained for days. But better yet, Victoria's most enticing experiences are all within a short drive from the city. From mountain vistas to cool climate wines and little penguins, whichever direction you turn, Victoria will serve up something unforgettable. You can hang out in the rooftop bars in Melbourne, step off the beaten track and unearth lesser-known gems of the Great Ocean Road, or have the best walks and hikes at Wilson's Promontory. Whatever adventures you yearn, surely Victoria will oblige.
Western Australia. Cougars. Western Australia, Australia's largest state, is a vast and diverse region encompassing nearly one-third of the Australian continent, with a unique blend of landscapes, from deserts to coastal regions, and a rich history and culture. It is the westernmost state of Australia, covering an area of 2,527,013 square kilometres. It's bounded by the Indian Ocean to the north and west, the Southern Ocean to the south, the Northern Territory to the northeast, and South Australia to the southeast. WA's landscape is diverse, including the Great Sandy Desert, Gibson Desert, and Great Victoria Desert in the central and northern regions. The southwest region is known for its fertile land and coastal areas, while the Kimberley region in the north is characterized by dramatic landscapes and ancient rock formations. The state experiences a wide range of climates, from the warm, wet, and dry seasons of the northern regions to the cool, mild winters and warm, breezy summers of the southwest. The interior is generally arid with low rainfall and high temperatures. Other notable figures in Western Australia are the quokkas of Rottnest Island. Quokkas are a type of marsupial, and they are related to kangaroos and wallabies. They have become an iconic symbol of Western Australia due to their friendly and photogenic nature. As cute as they are, it's important to note it's actually illegal to touch quokkas due to their vulnerable status on the IUCN Red List of Endangered Species. While touching and cuddling is a huge no-no, they are mighty friendly, so getting close enough to take a selfie shouldn't be too difficult. Just be careful not to touch.
On to the last state, ACT, or Australian Capital Territory. The Australian Capital Territory, an internal territory of Australia, is home to the nation's capital, Canberra, and is known for its planned city layout, green spaces, and proximity to national parks and cultural institutions. Canberra, the capital city of Australia, serving as the seat of government and home to many important institutions. The ACT hosts important national monuments, museums, and galleries, including the National Gallery of Australia, the National Museum of Australia, and the Australian War Memorial. The ACT offers opportunities for outdoor activities, with access to national parks, bushland, and walking and cycling trails. The ACT has Lake Burley Griffin, Mount Ainslie Lookout, and the Australian National Botanic Gardens provide scenic beauty and opportunities for outdoor activities. Also, the Museum of Australian Democracy at Old Parliament House, the National Zoo and Aquarium, and Cockington Green Gardens also contribute to the city's appeal. Knowledge check. Prepare a piece of paper for a brief 5-question exam. You have a minute to answer each question. What is the capital of Australia? A. Sydney. B. Canberra. C. Geelong. D. Maroondah.
A state known as the Sunshine State. A. ACT. B. VIC. C. TAS. D. QLD.
Which is a UNESCO World Heritage Site? A. Rottnest Island. B. Ayers Rock. C. Uluru. D. Great Barrier Reef.
Second most populated state in Australia. A. Queensland. B. Western Australia. C. Victoria. D. Tasmania.
Which of these cities belong to the largest state in Australia? A. Perth. B. Canberra. C. Sydney. D. Adelaide.
Where does Warren reside? A. Warrenwood, Vic. B. Warrenwood, Vic. C. Fitzroy, Vic. D. Richmond, Vic. Language, culture and etiquette. Australians are very down to earth and mindful of not giving the impression that they think they are better than anyone else. They value authenticity, sincerity, and loathe pretentiousness. Australians prefer people who are modest, humble, self-deprecating and with a sense of humour. They do not draw attention to their academic or other achievements and tend to distrust people who do. Australians place a high value on relationships.
Local culture. The culture of Australia is a Western culture derived primarily from Britain but also influenced by the unique geography of the Australian continent. The diverse input of Aboriginal, Torres Strait Islander and other Oceania people. The oldest surviving cultural traditions in Australia, which are actually some of the oldest surviving traditions on Earth, are those of Australia's Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. Their ancestors inhabited Australia for between 40,000 and 60,000 years and they lived a hunter-gatherer lifestyle. The boomerang and didgeridoo, which were invented by Aborigines, are to this day iconic symbols of the country. Australians are generally laid back, open and direct. They say what they mean and are generally more individual and outgoing than other cultures. More than 3/4 of Australians live in cities and urban centres, mainly along the coast.
A multicultural society. The initial population of Australia was made up of Aborigines and people of British and Irish descent. After World War II, there was heavy migration from Europe, especially from Greece, Italy, Germany, the Netherlands, Yugoslavia, Lebanon, and Turkey. This was in response to the Australian policy of proactively trying to attract immigrants to boost the population and workforce. In the last 30 years, Australia has liberalised its immigration policy and opened its borders to Southeast Asia. This has caused a real shift in self-perception as Australians begin to redefine themselves as a multicultural and multi-faith society. Clothing. Australian local dress styles are different from Australia's fashions. Dress has been influenced by the experience of living in rugged countryside, as well as participating in modern leisure activities such as swimming, surfing and beach culture. This is reflected in different fabrics, such as moleskin and drill cotton, developed for more practical wear. Today, lifesavers wear long-sleeved tops or wetsuits and sun hats, as do children, as protection from the sun. In response to the beach experience, board shorts, singlets, colourful shirts and thongs have been adopted as part of a national dress code by both males and females.
The Australian language. Australian English is the country's official language and is the first language of the majority of the population. Australian English differs from other varieties of English in vocabulary, accent, pronunciation, grammar and spelling.
Customs and etiquette. Australians are generally not formal. It's common to shake hands and Australians would normally just use first names to introduce people. Gifts are exchanged at birthdays and Christmas. Gifts are usually opened when they are received, in front of the gift giver. It's hard to picture Australian life without thinking about the good old Aussie Barbie while holding a cold one in your hand. When invited to someone's house, it's polite to phone ahead to see if the host or hostess would like you to bring anything else. Always arrive on time if invited to dinner. Table manners are Western. Hold the fork in the left hand and the knife on the right while eating. Indicate you have finished eating by laying your knife and fork parallel on your plate with the handles facing right. Keep your elbows off the table and your hands above the table when eating.
Religion. While Australia has a strong tradition of secular government, religious organisations have played a significant role in public life. Christian churches, in particular, have played an integral role in the development of education, health and welfare services. While less than a quarter of Christians attend church weekly, around a quarter of all school students attend church-affiliated schools, and the Christian festivals of Easter and Christmas are public holidays. The Roman Catholic Church is by far the largest non-government provider of health and education services in Australia.
Courtesy. It is polite in Australia to shake someone's right hand when you meet him or her for the first time. Australians tend to be fairly informal in their everyday interactions, and it is common practice to call someone by their first name only. You can address someone by their title and their family name, but this is considered unnecessary and overly formal for most situations. People do, however, tend to be more formal in business and professional situations.
Australian culture. Fair go. Australians believe in the right to a fair go regardless of a person's background. We believe everyone should be treated with respect, equality and fairness. Play by the rules. Australian is governed by many laws, rules and regulations, and all are expected to follow rules. Easygoing. Aussies are known to be laid-back and easygoing. Workplaces can be easygoing as long as the job is done and policies and procedures are followed. Respect for democracy. Australians value human rights and freedom of democracy. Mateship. A culture that embodies equality, loyalty and friendship, which is a very important part of Australian life. Aussie humour. To be an Aussie means having a good sense of humour. It is a part of Australian culture. Not meant to offend but to add lighter touch to a conversation and make situation less tense.
Australian work culture. While Australia is a very casual country, it's important to be punctual and arrive on time to begin your work day and to meetings. Depending on the industry, the dress code may vary, so it's always a good idea to dress to impress. Aussies respect our colleagues regardless of job titles and positions. Australians highly value a balance between working and our personal life. Leisure and family time are cherished, and many Aussies will try to leave the office on time. Employers will also often encourage this work-life balance, as employees are encouraged to use their annual and personal leave. Be prepared to do the hard yakka. Known for their ability to knuckle down and get things done, Australians often rank high in the world's longest working weeks. It's not just about clocking in the hours, but doing the hard yakka, which means putting in genuine effort to complete things efficiently. Australians don't shy away from difficult tasks and prefer those who tackle challenges with a positive can-do attitude.
Respect the work-life balance. Despite their hard work, Aussies place a high value on their time away from the office. The standard work schedule is around 38 hours, allowing for a balance between professional and personal life. It's not unusual to see Australians socialising after work, even on weekdays. Setting aside dedicated family time is also a high priority. This means time is of the essence while you're on the clock. Being on time for meetings, appointments and social occasions is a sign of respect, while lateness is generally frowned upon.
Be clear and don't beat around the bush. Australians are renowned for their openness and straightforward communication style. Being direct means you can't beat around the bush, and this approach is often preferred. Unlike some cultures where authority figures shouldn't be questioned, Australians encourage active participation from everyone. Always keep it respectful, but don't hesitate to share your thoughts and ideas. Also, be prepared to ask questions if you don't understand something.
Connect with your colleagues. Building relationships beyond the office can be important in Australian workplaces. Don't be surprised if your team invites you for lunches or after-work drinks. This is a way of strengthening team bonds. Language and humor are also used to bring people together. Playful and light-hearted banter is common and considered a sign of camaraderie rather than disrespect. Newcomers should be open to participating in workplace socializing.
Embrace the fair go mentality. In Australia, the concept of a fair go emphasizes giving everyone equal opportunities for success. Being culturally sensitive is essential in embracing the fair go ethos. Respect for diverse backgrounds and perspectives is highly valued. Embrace the cultural differences within your workplace and contribute to creating an inclusive environment that celebrates all backgrounds. The fair go mentality also extends to opportunities for growth and development. Recognition and progression are based on skills and contributions rather than favoritism. Take on challenges, demonstrate your capabilities, and be proactive in seeking opportunities for career advancement.
What to avoid when dealing with an Australian? Avoid stereotyping. Australians value authenticity and may take offense to stereotypes about their culture, accent, or lifestyle. Be cautious with humor. Australians often use sarcasm and dry humor. While this can be engaging, be careful not to misinterpret it or come off as disrespectful. Respect the tall poppy syndrome. Australians tend to value humility and may not respond well to excessive bragging or self-promotion. Avoid overly formal language. Australians generally prefer a more laid-back and informal style of communication. Using overly formal language may create distance. Be mindful of sports rivalries. Sports, particularly Australian rules football and cricket, can be a sensitive topic due to strong rivalries. Avoid making negative comments about popular teams. Cultural sensitivity. Be respectful of Indigenous Australian culture and history. Avoid making insensitive jokes or comments about these topics. Avoid talking politics too early. While Australians are generally open to discussing politics, it can be a divisive topic. Gauge the comfort level before diving into political discussions. Knowledge check. Prepare a piece of paper for a brief 5-question exam. You have a minute to answer each question. Where does Australian culture derived from? A. American. B. Aborigines. C. British. D. New Zealand.
What do Australians value? A. Money and power. B. Love interest. C. Work and career. D. Authenticity and sincerity.
Australians are generally A. Laid back and casual, B. Moody and grumpy, C. Relaxed and lazy, D. Compassionate and romantic.
The largest non-government provider of health and education services in Australia. A. Roman Catholic, B. Christians, C. Baptist, D. Politicians.
Means to put genuine effort to get a task done efficiently. A. Hard work, B. Hard yakka, C. Hard yakka, D. Hard chokka.
Let's see how did you do. 1. C. British. 2. D. Authenticity and sincerity. 3. A. Laid back and casual. 4. A. Roman Catholic. 5. C. Hard yakka.
The Australian lifestyle. Australia's lifestyle is laid back, sure. But there's nothing that excites an Aussie more than sports. Australia's sporting culture has been passed through generations, making for a population deeply invested in cricket, rugby, Australian rules football, soccer, tennis and more. Let's find out the 9 Australian lifestyle that we need to know about.
No worries attitude. If there's one thing Aussies are known for, it's their easygoing attitude. Food, events, art and history are all vital parts of Australian culture. But what really distinguishes an Aussie is his or her laid-back outlook on life. The wary friends turn up unannounced, but always with a six-pack of beer in hand. It's the reason you'll hear the words, "No worries mate," exchanged between strangers on the street. Most of all, it's about putting aside stress to appreciate the good things in life.
Spirit of friendship. In Australia, a stranger is just a mate you haven't met yet. Mateship is the beating heart of the Australian spirit. It's practically a national trait. Aussies pride themselves on being good friends and neighbours, and not just to people they know. They tend to greet everyone from the mail carrier to the cab driver with a "G'day" or "How ya going?" For Australians, this emphasis on mateship creates a cheery, welcoming attitude that says anyone can be a mate. Love of the outdoors. Australia is blessed with some of the most beautiful natural landscapes in the world. So it comes as no surprise that Australians love to be outdoors. This passion for nature seeps into the local lifestyle all across the country, and locals take full advantage of their own backyards. Sydneysiders enjoy ocean swims at sunrise, Canberrans take weekend bike rides around the lake, and Perth's Kings Park is the locals' favourite for a picnic.
Rich and diverse cultural history. Australia's history influences its lifestyle today, and Australia's first and oldest stories belong to the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples. Their diverse languages and philosophies form the oldest surviving culture on Earth. Australia's diversity continues to grow, as people from around the world have settled into the country's buzzing cities and breezy regional towns. Today, Australia's rich multiculturalism influences everything from the food we eat to the celebrations we share. Coming together over food and drinks. Enjoying food with loved ones around a shared table is integral to Australian culture. Sure, we have incredibly fresh produce and top-notch wine, but what really sets Australia's dining scene apart? The environment in which our delicacies are enjoyed. Sit down at a cafe right on the coast, sip local gin in a groovy warehouse, or share a seafood platter with mates on the beach. Now that's what it's all about. Plus, Aussies are pretty innovative. You'll be surprised by the creations you come across down under. Making the most of the coastline. What do you get when you pair a nature-loving lifestyle with so much dazzling coastline? A thriving beach culture, of course. Australians find countless ways to kick off their shoes and enjoy their many beautiful beaches, be it surfing, fishing, kayaking, picnicking, sharing an impromptu game of beach cricket, or just soaking up some sunshine. Our beach culture has seeped into other areas too, like music and TV.
Spirit of the Outback. It's not just about the beaches in Australia. The Australian outback is home to diverse landscapes, countless natural wonders and deep connections to Aboriginal culture. Because a sense of adventure and love of the outdoors feed the Australian lifestyle, you'll find plenty of Aussies outside the cities, taking in the fresh air and clear night skies of Australia's stunning outback.
Passionate sporting culture. Australia's lifestyle is laid back, but there's nothing that excites an Aussie more than sport. Australia's sporting culture has been passed through generations, making for a population deeply invested in cricket, rugby, Australian rules football, soccer, tennis and more. Locals pour into pubs for rugby games, spend all day in the sun at cricket matches, and use golden beaches as fields for casual games.
Coming together to celebrate events. Australia has an exciting calendar of events and festivals where locals and visitors alike gather to celebrate food, sport, art and culture. Australia hosts world-renowned sporting events like the Australian Open Tennis Tournament and the Sydney to Hobart Yacht Race. Of course, Australia's sense of humour has hatched more than a few quirky events. If you're up for some Aussie fun, dare to go bare at the nude solstice swim as part of Dark Mofo, or head to Alice Springs for the Hanley on Todd Regatta to watch dry riverbed racing. Australian English 101. Australian English differs from other varieties in its phonology, pronunciation, lexicon, idiom, grammar and spelling. Australian English is relatively consistent across the continent, although it encompasses numerous regional and socio-cultural varieties. The phonetic alphabet. You will hear the difference in Australian phonetics versus American phonetics. Please take note and listen carefully. Hi. This is Liam. Here's how an Australian read the phonetic alphabet. A. Alpha. B. Bravo. C. Charlie. D. Delta. E. Echo. F. Foxtrot. G. Golf. H. Hotel. I. India. J. Juliet. K. Kilo. L. Lima. M. Mike. N. November. O. Oscar. P. Papa. Q. Quebec. R. Romeo. S. Sierra. T. Tango. U. Uniform. V. Victor. W. Whiskey. X. X-ray. Y. Yankee. Z. Zulu.
Thanks, Liam. My name is Rick from America, and this is how we read the phonetic alphabet. A. Alpha. B. Bravo. C. Charlie. D. Delta. E. Echo. F. Foxtrot. G. Golf. H. Hotel. I. India. J. Juliet. K. Kilo. L. Lima. M. Mike. N. November. O. Oscar. P. Papa. Q. Quebec. R. Romeo. S. Sierra. T. Tango. U. Uniform. V. Victor. W. Whiskey. X. X-ray. Y. Yankee. Z. Zulu.
Just an additional comparison, guys. My name is Daniel and I'm from the Philippines, and this is how I read the phonetic alphabet. A. Alpha. B. Bravo. C. Charlie. D. Delta. E. Echo. F. Foxtrot. G. Golf. H. Hotel. I. India. J. Juliet. K. Kilo. L. Lima. M. Mike. N. November. O. Oscar. P. Papa. Q. Quebec. R. Romeo. S. Sierra. T. Tango. U. Uniform. V. Victor. W. Whiskey. X. X-ray. Y. Yankee. Z. Zulu.
Now, how's that for a comparison? Listen to each distinct accent and pronunciation, and try to practice it, then you'll eventually get it. Australia has relatively subtle regional pronunciation differences compared with Great Britain, though this is not to deny that differences exist and are growing. Like many of the varieties now covered in the OED, the focus for the Australian English model is the middle of 3 points on a spectrum of pronunciation. Rather than the high-prestige cultivated form or the low-prestige broad form, our model is intended to reflect the variety of the majority, known as general. Australian English is not a rhotic variety, so a sounds pattern more similarly to British English than US English. However, some speakers flap T between vowels in words such as bitter or in phrases such as get out, in a similar way to US speakers. This appears to be an increasing phenomenon, although there remains variability, and at least 3 other types of T are documented: a British-like T, one with S-like frication, and a possibly more context-restricted glottal stop. Our Australian English model condenses these into simply unflapped and flapped transcriptions, T and D respectively, and both forms are given. Purely for consistency, the unflapped pronunciation is given first in each case. Consonants guide. Some consonants can take the function of the vowel in unstressed syllables. Where necessary, a syllabic marker diacritic is used as in British and US English. We have invited guest speakers to show you the difference of Australian, American and Filipino.
Hi, this is Liam from Queensland. Listen carefully as I go through these words. P. T. Key. Buy. Die. Guy. Sure. J. For. Thor. Saw. Sure. V. V. Z. Beige. Hey. Lay. Ray. Way. Your. May. Nay. Sing.
This is Jenny from Beverly Hills, California. Listen carefully. P. T. Key. Buy. Die. Guy. Chore. J. For. Thaw. Sore. Shore. V. The. Z. Beige. Hay. Lay. Ray. Way. Your. May. Nay. Sing.
Mabuhay, this is Salome from Philippines. Now listen carefully. P, T, Ki, By, Die, Guy, Chore, J, For, Thaw, Sore, Shore, V, Z, Beige, Hey, Lay, Ray, Way, Your, May, Nay, Sing.
Vowels. Australian English often uses long vowel sounds, like Standard British, but typically longer, meaning they are pronounced for a long duration. This often means that one-syllable words can be lengthened to two syllables. Near is pronounced more like near instead of near. To non-native speakers, this may sound quite exaggerated. Vowel guide. The symbol apostrophe at the beginning of a syllable indicates that the syllable is pronounced with primary stress. The symbol comma indicates secondary stress. Round brackets or closed and open parentheses in a transcription indicate that the symbol within is optional. I'll start the vowel guide. Listen carefully. Fleece, happy, kit, dress, trap, pal, bath, start, strut, lot, cloth, thought, north, force, foot, goose, nurse, face, pride, letter, near, square, cure, mouth, goat, voice.
This is Matt from Iowa. Now, listen carefully. Fleece, happy, kit, dress, trap, pal, bath, start, strut, lot, cloth, thought, north, force, foot, goose, nurse, face, pride, letter, near, square, cure, mouth, goat, voice.
Mabuhay, this is James from Haniwai. Please listen carefully. Fleece, happy, kit, dress, trap, pal, bath, start, strut, lot, cloth, thought, north, force, foot, goose, nurse, face, pride, letter, near, square, cure, mouth, goat, voice.
Now you've heard the distinct features of vowel pronunciations in different accents. Let's get deeper in each vowel sound.
Long O sound. The Australian O sounds like a mixture between an R and R with a hint of R. For example, the word no sounds more like nor.
Long I sound. The long A in words such as night and find sound more like a softer oi sound. For example, noit and foind.
Long A sound. The long E in words such as save and mate is more elongated and contains a stronger Y sound, so would sound more like I. For example, save and mate.
Short A sound. The short A in words such as sat and hand is pronounced a bit more like E. For example, sate and hend. Non-rhotic. Australian English is non-rhotic, like Standard British English, meaning, when the R sound is in the middle of a word, It is not pronounced unless it is followed by a vowel sound. For example, hard is pronounced like hard. The R at the end of words is also not pronounced and makes more of a schwa sound instead. For example, farmer is pronounced like farmer.
Tap T. General Australian English uses the tap T, similar to American English, instead of pronouncing a hard T. A tap T sound is made by the tongue quickly tapping behind the front teeth. For example, take the word butter. Instead of pronouncing a hard T, Australian English uses a softer sound similar to D, example, butter.
The Aussie accent. G'day, mate. Do you fancy having a Rip Australia accent, like Kate Winslet in The Dressmaker or Dev Patel in Lion? Taking on a role that requires an Australian English accent can be a challenge worthy of the likes of Crocodile Dundee, but never fear. This comprehensive guide shows you how to sound Australian like you actually come from a land down under.
Regional variations of the Australian accent. As with most countries and languages, there are a variety of features that can mark an Australian accent, but each dialect doesn't necessarily embody every feature. Variance in pronunciations or slang words often occurs depending on where a person has grown up. For example, when someone from the United States has a distinguishable accent, it's pretty easy to determine if they are from, say, Southern California versus upstate New York, Boston, or the Southeast. But Australia really doesn't have those indicators in their dialects. While you're not likely to be able to tell if someone is from Sydney versus Perth by their accent, you can probably tell if they are from a more urban or rural part of the country.
Different Australian accents. A paper published for the 2010 Third International Conference on Knowledge Discovery and Data Mining breaks down the three classifications of an Australian accent: broad, general, and cultivated.
Broad. This is the accent that is most recognizable to non-Australian English speakers, as it's the accent typically used in non-Australian media, but it's historically associated with the working class. It's more of a drawl than the other accents, with a slower speech pattern, longer diphthongs, two vowels combined to form one sound, like in join, or loud, and a more nasal tone. In a broad accent, a word like kite sounds more like coit. Most people that speak with a broad accent are from more rural locations. The crocodile hunter aka Steve Irwin's accent is a recognizable example.
General. The most commonly used accent today, the general accent, is what you'll hear in Australian-made media. It is less of a drawl accent than the broad accent, but still has distinctive pronunciation differences from, say, British English. Most speakers live in suburban to urban parts of the country. Hugh Jackman's accent falls within the general category.
Cultivated. Often confused for British received pronunciation, the cultivated Australian accent adopts a lot of British pronunciation. It's associated with more prestige or a higher level of education. Once more recognized by foreign English speakers, it has been fading out of use. Those with cultivated accents speak slower, with more enunciated vowels and a monotonous tone. Kate Blanchett speaks with a cultivated accent. At the time of the paper's publishing, it was estimated that 34% of the Australian population spoke with the broad accent, 55% with the general, and 11% with the cultivated. Today, general speakers likely make up a larger percentage. According to actor, director and voice, speech, and dialect coach Paul Ricciardi, when it comes to the loss of the cultivated accent, there are people who were taught to speak a certain way, and those voices still exist. College-educated folks who are now in their 60s, 70s, and older could have been introduced to this sound, but they aren't really around much anymore because they are not taught anymore. So, in a play set in modern times, younger people are less likely to speak with a cultivated accent than older Australians. On the other end of the spectrum, the broad accent is becoming less exaggerated and blending more with the general accent. David Blair and Peter Collins suggested more than 2 decades ago that this could be the direct result of speakers trying to separate themselves from the stigmas associated with the working class.
Features of an Australian accent.
Elongated diphthongs. The first sound in a diphthong tends to be much longer than the sound the second one makes, and many words have audible diphthongs though they are not spelled with 2 consecutive vowels. For example, nice sounds more like noise. The broader the accent, the more pronounced the diphthong.
Elongated vowels. Australian accents draw out long vowels even further. For example, with a long A, you'll typically hear it drawn out like A. It helps to try it out slowly at first. Draw out the word plane to sound more like playin. Once you get the hang of it, the sound will be more condensed, like playin.
Ghost vowels. Many words sound like they have vowels that don't actually appear in their spelling. For example, when U comes after a consonant, there is usually a Y sound that comes before it. For example, music sounds more like music.
Dropped letters. Australian speakers tend to drop the R sound throughout words if it isn't followed by a vowel, replacing it with an R sound. Car becomes car, for example. They also drop the hard G sound at the end of words and soften T to sound like a D. For example, riding instead of riding and better instead of better.
The intrusive R. On the other hand, some words sound like they have an R in or at the end of them, even when they don't. This usually happens when a word ending in a vowel is followed by a word beginning with a vowel or a vowel sound. For example, draw it can sound more like draw it.
An overabundance of slang. Beyond shortening whatever words they can, Australians have a plethora of slang words in their everyday language. You probably already know Australians call their friends mate, but also try peppering in having a blue in place of fight, or using duvalaki to describe something you can't think of the name of.
A questioning inflection. Australia is not the only accent with an upward inflection, turning statements into questions, but it is a prominent example. It's even been dubbed the Australian question intonation. A nasal tone. This can be accomplished by widening your mouth, which lifts up the back of your tongue.
How to practice Australian accent. The best approach to creating a dialect, Ricciardi says, is to go straight to the source, rather than trying to piece together an accent based on what you think it sounds like. I always start with where the character is from, he says. So, for example, if you're playing a character that was born and raised in a particular neighborhood in Sydney, then I would find what is called a donor. In this case, a donor is someone from the same neighborhood that your character is from. Ricciardi would record them speaking as an example, or suggests idea, the International Dialects of English Archive, for finding pre-recorded donors. Then, using the International Phonetic Alphabet, IPA, I would transcribe all of the sound changes between the sounds of English as we know it and as I'm hearing it in the donor. As you start breaking it down, keep these simple switches in mind. Turn I into oi, for example, time becomes toim. Turn a soft A into A, for example, sat becomes sate. Turn a hard A into I, for example, state becomes stayet. At the end of a word, R becomes R, for example, diver becomes doivar. If you're finding it difficult to adopt the dialect you want, or to maintain it, you may want to turn to a dialect coach. The reality is that most actors won't be able to do a completely authentic dialogue, so coaches will work with the actor to consistently change a number of key sounds, says Ricciardi. And it's important to rely on experts, be they your donor or your coach, so that you're adopting a genuine version of someone's speech pattern, rather than creating a caricature, or inadvertently speaking in a way that's disrespectful.
Differences between Australian, New Zealand, and British accents. There are also certain aspects of an Australian accent that make it easy to mistake for others, such as a British accent or a Kiwi, New Zealand accent, by the untrained ear. It's only logical that each of these accents would share similarities, given New Zealand's and Australia's history of British colonisation, but it's important to learn the differences if you're going to speak authentically. The biggest thing to watch out for is your vowel pronunciation. Australian versus British accent. When it comes to comparing the Australian accent to the British accent specifically, Ricciardi, who is also an associate professor of acting and voice at the City University of New York's Kingsborough Community College, says that many of the other sound changes are the same. Both are non-rhotic accents, meaning that when an R comes before a consonant or at the end of a word, the sound is dropped. For example, hard will sound more like a hard, and baritone will sound more like baritone. This can make differentiating the two difficult. Ultimately, the musicality of the Australian dialect is a bit softer than British, he says. It sounds slightly flatter. But when it comes to the vowels, the differences can be much less subtle, especially when you compare the A sounds. In Australia, a hard A sounds more like I and a soft A sounds more like A. New Zealand versus Australian accent. A New Zealand accent, on the other hand, is mostly non-rhotic throughout, with some dialects being considered semi-rhotic. Ricciardi points to the vowel sounds again as the biggest indicator of the accent's origin. For example, Australians often really draw their vowels out, like in the example of plane, where that long A sound stretches from R to A to I, while New Zealanders shift a lot of their vowels to sound like others. Take a fish and chips. An Australian speaker will sound more like fish and chips, drawing out that I sound, whereas a New Zealander will shift the I to AU, pronouncing it like fish and chaps.
How to perform an Australian accent. When the time comes to perform in your accent, warming up your voice effectively is just as important as if you were about to sing. You want to work on your articulation and breath control so that your brain and mouth are both ready to handle your unusual pronunciation. Tension is the enemy of good dialect work, Ricciardi warns. It's important to ensure you're relaxed, especially in the neck, jaw, and tongue. The Kristen Linklater Voice Center, where Ricciardi teaches voice, refers to this area, plus the soft palate, as being like the Bermuda Triangle, where impulses are lost forever. If your muscles are tense, then you, the actor, can't be felt or heard. This is similar to getting tongue-tied, which Ricciardi says means the actor's brain is muddled. If this area is relaxed, you're more likely to embody the dialect. Still, for an unfamiliar or uncomfortable speaker, it may be difficult to slip into or maintain an accent, even if you're well prepared. Don't psych yourself out. Actors often think of dialect as a costume piece, something that's put on, Ricciardi says. But the dialect is part of the character. Since one of the fundamental ideas behind acting is that there is no character, that you, the actor, are the character, then you, the actor, have to find the dialect within yourself.
The do's and don'ts of phone etiquette. One might argue that telephone conversations are becoming obsolete in today's digital world. Yet, there are situations where we inevitably need to pick up the phone and engage in a conversation. Whether you're a confident phone user or someone who gets jittery at the sound of a ringtone, mastering proper telephone etiquette is crucial. It leaves a positive impression and ensures a pleasant experience for both parties involved.
Let's dive into do's and don'ts of telephone etiquette, supported by examples, statistics, and actionable tips.
The power of a smile. Be positive and engaging. Even though the person on the other line can't see you, they can hear you smile. A study by the University of Portsmouth found that a smile can be heard in one's voice, making the conversation more enjoyable and relaxed. So, remember to put on a smile before answering a call.
Avoid distractions, show respect and attentiveness. Distractions can range from texting and scrolling through social media to nibbling a snack. However, it's essential to remember that if you wouldn't do these things in a face-to-face conversation, you should wait to do them over the phone. Offering your undivided attention shows respect and ensures effective communication.
Personalize your greeting, make a lasting impression. When answering a call, greet the caller warmly and introduce yourself. According to research, people remember the last thing they hear in a conversation. Hence, ending your greeting with your name can leave a lasting impression. Strike the right tone, maintain appropriate volume. Striking between shouting and whispering is crucial while conversing over the phone. Speak calmly and clearly to ensure the listener can understand you easily. Clarity is key. Speak clearly and precisely. The objective of a phone call is to communicate effectively. Therefore, speak clearly to avoid repetition and misunderstandings, ensuring a smooth conversation.
Keep it short, don't overtalk. People prefer a short, drawn-out conversation. Be precise in your communication and avoid getting into unnecessary details. Let the listener have their say, as well. Phone etiquette can be mastered with practice. As long as you remember to be positive, respectful and attentive.
Hold time, keep it short and sweet. No one enjoys being put on hold, especially for long periods. If you must put a caller on hold, keep it brief to prevent them from feeling neglected or deciding to hang up.
Make your caller feel welcome, show interest and empathy. Make your caller feel welcome by showing genuine concern. Empathetic responses can go a long way in making the caller feel valued and satisfied with the conversation.
Consider call timing. Don't interrupt. Another key component of telephone etiquette is respecting the caller's time. Avoid interrupting, and respect silences to allow your caller to collect their thought before continuing. Whether you're speaking with a customer, colleague, or a family member. Wrapping up, mastering phone etiquette. Effective phone etiquette is more than just about politeness. It's about creating a positive and memorable experience for the caller. By incorporating these simple yet impactful tips, you can elevate your telephone conversations and make every call count.
Call flow sample insurance. When you are calling insurance companies, always be direct to the point and give inaccurate information, especially during the security verification stage. Before you start calling, always remember to open every information that you might need to provide the insurer. Remember, for a smooth, streamlined call, always be ready for any questions the insurer might ask.
Good morning. Thank you for calling Clearview. This is Christy. How may I assist you today?
Hi, my name is John. I'm calling on behalf of the advisor.
For security purposes, could you please confirm the advisor's name and code?
The advisor's name is Warrant Strybosh and the advisor code is AS1234.
Thanks, you have passed the security process. How may I help you?
I would like to check the payment status of the policy number 123456.
Sure, let me pull up the account. Could you please provide the full name of the client?
The policy is under Craig Michael Miles.
Thank you. Upon checking here, the policy is paid up to date.
Great. Could you please provide me with the confirmation number?
The confirmation number is 001234556. I can also send you a confirmation statement. Can I have your email address?
My email address is info@findgroup.com.au.
Perfect. The email has been sent. You should receive it shortly. Is there anything else I can help you with today?
I think that's all for today. To make sure we are on the same page, you have confirmed that the policy is paid up to date, which means the payment has been received.
Yes, that is correct.
Thank you for your time and assistance. I appreciate your help in ensuring the policy remains active. Have a lovely day ahead.
No dramas. Have a great day. Thanks again for calling.
Call flow sample marketing. To conduct effective marketing calls, prepare thoroughly by researching prospects, setting clear goals, and crafting a compelling script, then engage with a friendly, confident, and empathetic approach, focusing on building rapport and understanding their needs before pitching your product or service. Tips for success. Be persistent. Don't give up easily. Follow up with prospects who are initially hesitant. Maintain a positive attitude. A positive attitude can make a big difference in your success. Be empathetic. Put yourself in the prospect's shoes and understand their perspective. Practice makes perfect. Roleplay and practice your scripts to improve your skills. Stay organized. Use a CRM to track your calls and follow-ups. Be respectful of time. Keep your calls concise and to the point. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Seek guidance from your manager or experienced colleagues.
Hello, Ivan speaking.
Hi Ivan, my name is Maki from Find Geelong. How are you?
I'm great, thanks. How can I help you, Maki?
I'm reaching out to let you know about an exciting opportunity for your organization to be part of our community paper, Find Geelong. We'd love to help you reach more people by sharing your events and stories at no cost to you.
That sounds great, Maki. But besides advertising, is there more than you can put on the table?
I'm glad you asked. To start, we're a community-driven publication dedicated to supporting local NFPs, schools and sports clubs by promoting their activities, events and achievements. Once you sign up with Find Geelong, you can advertise upcoming events, share your story to the whole community and build a connection within our network.
Okay, Maki, sounds like a great deal. I'm sold. Where do I sign up?
That's awesome, Ivan. After this call, I'll send you an email with more details on how to submit your events and stories. You can also reach out anytime if you have questions or would like assistance with anything. Can I have your name and email address?
Copy that, Maki. So my name is Ivan Rogers and my email is ivan@markmark.com. Hoping to hear from you soon, mate.
Got it. You'll hear from us soon enough, Ivan. As we are excited about the possibility of working together to bring more attention to our amazing community.
Good on ya, mate. Talk to you soon.
Thanks, mate. Have a great day.
Business email etiquette. Email etiquette is the code of conduct that guides behavior when writing or responding to emails. The principles of proper email etiquette can vary slightly depending on the recipient of your email and the circumstances. For example, email etiquette changes when you write to a friend versus a colleague or business acquaintance. In business email etiquette, use a professional tone, include a clear subject line, proofread carefully, and be concise. Also, consider your audience, use appropriate greetings and sign-offs, and be mindful of reply all and attachments. General professionalism. Use a professional email address. Avoid using nicknames or unprofessional sounding email addresses for business correspondence. Maintain a professional tone. Keep your language formal and avoid slang, excessive use of exclamation points, or sarcasm. Proofread carefully. Always check for typos, grammatical errors, and ensure your message is clear and easy to understand. Be concise. Get straight to the point and avoid unnecessary details or rambling. Use standard fonts and formatting. Stick to common, legible fonts like Arial, Times New Roman, or Calibri. Email structure and content. Clear and descriptive subject line. A good subject line helps recipients prioritize your email and understand its purpose. Appropriate greeting and sign-off. Use a professional salutation, example, dear name, hello name, and a polite sign-off, example, sincerely, best regards. Introduce yourself, if necessary. If you're emailing someone you don't know well, briefly introduce yourself and your company. Include a professional signature. Your email signature should include your name, title, company, and contact information. Consider your audience. Tailor your language and tone to the recipient and the context of the email. Use sentence case. Capitalize the first word of each sentence and use proper punctuation. Call out attachments. Mention any attachments in the body of the email to avoid confusion. Use BCC appropriately. Use blind carbon copy, BCC. To protect the privacy of recipients when sending to multiple people. Think before forwarding. Ensure the email is appropriate to forward and that you have the recipient's permission. Set informative out-of-office replies. If you are away, set up an out-of-office reply to inform recipients of your absence and expected return date. Respond in a timely manner. Aim to respond to emails within 24 hours, or acknowledge receipt and provide a timeframe for a full response. Be mindful of reply all. Only use reply all when the entire group needs to be informed. Don't send anything you wouldn't want read aloud. Be cautious about the content of your emails, as they can be easily forwarded or copied. Use proper email punctuation. Use punctuation correctly and appropriately. 28 Email etiquette rules for the workplace. When sending or replying to emails, here are some of the key email etiquette rules to keep in mind in the workplace. Use standard formatting. Standard fonts, such as Times New Roman or Arial, are generally considered appropriate for business emails, along with standard font sizes and colors. If you use bold or italics, use them sparingly. If you're copying and pasting text, clear the formatting before sending the email, as it may appear different from the rest of your text. To clear formatting, you can use Command +/ on a Mac or Control + Shift + N on a PC. Include a clear subject line. Another important rule of email etiquette is to title your email clearly so the recipient knows what the message is about. For example, if you're emailing to follow up on a presentation, you might write, "Follow-up question about your presentation." Emails with clear and brief subject lines often have better open rates, so try to be descriptive and concise. Email from a professional email address. Whenever possible, send business-related emails from a professional email address. If you're self-employed or using a personal email address for work-related correspondence, It's considered good email etiquette to ensure that it doesn't contain any words that some might consider unprofessional. Use the correct email format. A business email should have a simple but specific structure, which includes a subject line, greeting, body, and sign-off. The body of your email may be in short paragraphs. Organize the information in the body section so your recipient can easily understand your message. Use professional greetings. Choose a salutation that's appropriate for the relationship you have with the recipient. If you're emailing a coworker, a casual greeting such as "hello" may be appropriate. If you're contacting someone for the first time, or if they are a professional acquaintance, use a more formal greeting like "Dear Sarah Atkins." It's recommended to use the person's name exactly as it's shown in their email signature line. This means don't assume someone named Jennifer goes by Jen, unless you've seen them sign their emails that way. Use an introduction. Depending on who you're emailing, it's best to introduce yourself by your first and last name and identify the company you're representing within the first few lines. When corresponding with new contacts, clients, potential customers, or employers, it's also good email etiquette to let them know how you received their contact information. Example: my name is Jessica Franklin, and I'm with White Label Agency. Mark Gregston gave me your name and suggested I contact you regarding your amazing printing services. Choose your salutation and sign off carefully. When sending a business email, choose appropriate salutations. This can help your correspondence appear more professional. Examples of appropriate salutations include: hello, hi, good morning, dear. When ending your email, use a formal sign-off such as sincerely, kind regards, best wishes. Reply to all your emails. Responding to all emails you receive is not only considered good email etiquette, it's also polite. If you tend to receive a lot of emails, consider sorting spam emails into folders and unsubscribing from email lists where you no longer want to participate. Avoid using all caps. Use sentence case as you would for any formal communication. It's unprofessional to use all caps. Doing so can misconstrue your intentions and meaning. Example: Anne, it was great seeing you at the meeting. I look forward to connecting again soon. Double-check attachments. If you can copy and paste information into an email rather than attaching a document, do that. If not, let the recipient know in the body of your email that you're attaching a document. It's also good email etiquette to compress the documents or attach them in a zip file so they take up less space in the recipient's inbox. Alternatively, you may want to consider uploading documents to a shared location and giving the recipient a link to access them. Shorten links. When sharing a website, use a link shortener to shorten the link or hyperlink text within the email. Including links in this way can help your email appear cleaner. A short link is also easier to copy and paste into a web browser. Proofread. Proper spelling and grammar are important when sending business correspondence. It's always recommended to proofread your work before you hit send. Likewise, double-check the spelling of the recipient's name and email address, because autocorrect may alter names. You can install plugins to check your writing and find errors automatically. Don't use emojis. Even if the recipient has used emojis when communicating with you, resist the temptation to use them yourself. Emojis can come across as unprofessional in certain company cultures. Instead, You can express your emotion through the tone of your email and word choice. Reply within 24 hours. When someone emails you, replying within 24 hours is common courtesy and generally considered a good display of email etiquette. If you've unintentionally passed this time frame, apologize and politely explain the delay. When sending an email, you may provide a gentle reminder about time sensitivities so that the recipient remembers to reply quickly. Keep your tone professional. Think carefully about the words you choose when writing your email and how others may interpret your intention. For example, consider using positive words, such as opportunities and challenges, instead of obstacles and limitations. Avoid negativity, sarcasm and adjectives that can cause you to sound overly emotional. Perfect your email signature. An email signature is a special text box that displays your contact information at the bottom of an email. A signature typically includes your name, job title, company website, and phone number. If you don't have an email signature, creating one is useful because it can make your emails appear more professional. Use BCC appropriately. BCC stands for Blind Carbon Copy, which is similar to CC, carbon copy, except that the email recipients specified in the BCC field don't appear in the header or to the recipients in the to or CC fields. Using BCC is good etiquette if you want to protect someone's email address rather than exposing it to others. For example, if you're emailing a group of subcontractors about a change in policy or procedure, it's considerate to BCC everyone on the list. Think before forwarding. A good practice for forwarding is to summarize what's being discussed, so the recipient quickly knows what you need from them. It's also important to remember that some emails may contain private or sensitive information, so you might not be able to forward them. Use caution when forwarding and ask permission from the original sender if you're unsure to whom you can forward the email. Set informative out-of-office replies. If you plan to be out of the office for an extended period, set up an automated out-of-office reply message to let people know you won't be able to respond to their emails until a specific date. Be sure to provide a contact name if there's an urgent matter, include out of office, and the date in the subject line so recipients can quickly recognize that they've received an automatic response. It's also good etiquette and helpful to write the first line in the message as, "This is an automated message while I am out of the office." Reply to all your emails. Responding to all emails you receive is not only considered good email etiquette, it's also polite. If you tend to receive a lot of emails, consider sorting spam emails into folders and unsubscribing from email lists where you no longer want to participate. Refrain from using humor. Humor is very subjective and may not be appropriate for email correspondence. Your recipient may misunderstand a joke. Instead of humor, consider using a light and positive tone. Be aware of cultural differences. What's appropriate in your culture may not be appropriate to another, so it's important to recognize cultural differences and remain respectful. You can also be aware of cultural differences by increasing your self-awareness. Use discretion. Use caution when sharing information over email because it may not remain confidential. A cornerstone of good email etiquette is to protect private or sensitive information about yourself and others. For example, don't share passwords over email.
Embed your answers.
When replying to an email that asks 3 or more questions, a good rule of etiquette is to embed your answers. This organizes the information for the recipient and may make communication easier. When you embed your answers, you can simply copy and paste the questions from the previous email and include your answers underneath each question.
Include a call to action. A call to action in emails can be valuable because it informs the recipient of what you want them to do with the information. For example, you may request your colleague to provide feedback on your work, or ask that a team leader share the information you give with their team. It's generally most effective to include your call to action at the end of your message so that the recipient can take action as soon as they finish reading. Check your open rates. An open rate for email measures how many people click and read an email. If you use software that tracks the emails you send, you can see who opens your email. This can be useful for cold emailing. If you have a mailing list, you may use open rates to determine who to send reminders to if they don't open a previous email. Write the email address last. When drafting your email, consider inputting the recipient's email address last. This prevents you from accidentally hitting send before you finish writing. Ensure your message is mobile friendly. Many people read their emails on their mobile devices. With this in mind, ensuring your email is easy to read on a phone or tablet can be considered good email etiquette. One way to make your email mobile friendly is by keeping your message brief. Request email example 1. Read the email carefully. As you have noticed, the email has a clear subject line. Enumeration of the client's circumstances and things to consider. It also includes the secure link to client documents saved on a secure portal. It has a proper sign-off, including the name of the sender and position in the company. Reminder email sample. If you noticed on the subject line, the email is straightforward. This is important so the receiver is made aware that the email is important from just looking at the inbox. The body of the email contains a gentle reminder, but also very straightforward, as it implies urgency due to the nature of the business. The sender also attached the website in case the receiver has not followed the page. It is also included with the email address of the submission. Finally, the sign-off contains the complete name with the position in the company. Bad email samples. There is nothing I could say to this email, as it is obviously a scam. Scam emails often contains unclear messages, and would like you to do this abruptly. The second example is an application letter. If you're reading the email, it sounds very professional and clear, but as you get to the sender's email address, it is inappropriate, as some business owners or company will take it as an insult as to not taking the application seriously. The third example has the most potential to be a proper email, but then he has left out the proper spacing for each words. Always be careful about spacing. Email activity 1. What should be the appropriate reply? Subject: Sorry for late payment, husband passed. Dear Chase, sorry for not paying on time, my husband passed due to cancer, and I was out for a while coping. Can you PLZ send me the invoice so I can pay my bill? TNX. Sandy cheeks. Which of these is the appropriate reply? A. Subject: Please pay invoice. Dear Sandy, no worries, please refer to the attached invoice so you can pay your bill. It's a good thing you have get back at this as your bill is way overdue. Please pay as soon as possible to avoid late fees. Kind regards, Charles Xavier. Or B. Subject, re 20250328_financial planning_invoice Sandy Cheeks. Dear Sandy, thanks for reaching out about this, and I am so sorry for your loss. No worries for the late payment. Please refer to the attached invoice so you can pay the bill at your most convenient time. No need to rush in paying this. Kind regards, Charles Xavier, Financial Planner. If you've answered letter A, please repeat this unit. It is pretty obvious that the choice B is the more appropriate reply. Always remember to be considerate, especially on times of bereavement. Yes, you have to get paid. But imagine if something happens to you and your advisor replied the first email. Which is the appropriate email? A. Subject, 20250-416 overdue payment, Zeke Everglade. Dear Zeke, hope this finds you well. We have received an email from the ATO that you have an overdue payment of $20,000. Please refer to the attached BPAY statement so you can pay online. Note, the attachment is password protected. To open, just enter your date of birth using the format DDMMYYYY. For example, if your date of birth is the 1st of January, 1950, you need to enter 01011950. Kind regards, Aslan Tumnus. B. Subject, 20250-416 overdue payment, Zeke Everglade. Dear Zeke, hope this finds you well. We have received an email from the ATO that you have an overdue payment for your business activity statement. Please refer to the attached BPAY details so you can pay online. Note, the attachment is password protected. To open, just enter your date of birth using the format DDMMYYYY. For example, if your date of birth is the 1st of February, 1950, you need to enter 01021950. Kind regards, Aslan Tumnus. Both of these are appropriate emails. The email is well made, straightforward, and has a proper tone. The difference is, according to cybersecurity practices for anti-scam and hacking, any information of owed amount or money to be received should not be present or detailed in the body of the email. In the least, you have to attach the document password protected, as the info may be used by cybercriminals. Why is email etiquette important? The way you communicate is a reflection of your character, work ethic, and attention to detail. When writing emails in a professional setting, you may also be representing the character and values of your employer. Companies can benefit from implementing email etiquette rules for these reasons. Professionalism. Using proper email etiquette conveys a professional image of the organization. Efficiency. Emails that follow good email etiquette are often more direct and concise, conveying their message quickly. The do's and don'ts of business email etiquette. Few things can tarnish your professional brand quite like a poorly written, misguided email. One click of the send button can be the difference between a successful business exchange and a potential HR issue or co-worker conflict. And while Australians send hundreds of thousands of emails a day, it should not be taken for granted. Whether you're a senior professional or an office newbie, here are 13 must-remember do's and don'ts of business email etiquette. Do pay attention to the subject line. Write a clear, concise subject line that reflects the body of the email. Avoid subject lines with general words like "Hi, touching base," or "FYI," and do not leave the subject line blank. Do use a proper salutation. Hi and hey communicate a lack of professionalism and maturity. Begin your email with phrases such as good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or hello. Good day or greetings are other phrases used frequently in the international arena. Do use an introduction. In cultures like the US, the best practice is for the sender to introduce themselves by first and last name, with some background information in the first few lines. For example, Dear Ms. Mandel, my name is Sharon Schweitzer, founder of Access to Culture. I was referred to you by, or my name is Sharon Schweitzer, and I am an international business expert writing to you about. This is especially important when introducing yourself to new contacts, potential customers, clients, and employers who want to know how you receive their contact information. Do know the culture. When sending emails to people from indirect cultures, it is proper protocol and a best practice to research country customs. For example, in Japan, it is polite, appropriate, and customary to inquire about the weather in the first sentence of a business email. Contrastingly, it would be inappropriate to send an email introducing yourself to a potential Japanese contact. In indirect cultures, introductions are only made by mutually respected third parties due to custom. Cold emails are ignored, deleted, blocked, and/or marked as junk. Don't include humor and sarcasm. Emails can easily be misinterpreted through text without context. Humor is culture-specific. Avoid both humor and sarcasm in emails as the recipient may be confused, or worse, offended. Do double-check your attachments. When you attach a file, be kind enough to take a few extra seconds to paste it into the body of the email as well. This shows consideration to the recipient by saving them time and risk in opening attachments. Is this more time-consuming for you? Yes. Is it worth it? Yes. Don't hit reply all. Avoid using reply all unless everyone needs to know. When the C-suite, CEO, COO, or administrative assistant sends an email to 10 staff members requesting volunteers for a community service project, reply to the admin, not to all 10 members. Why make 10 others delete your email? Reply all is a function for ongoing deliberations on a particular subject. Do reply expediently. Replying within 24 hours is common courtesy. Leave someone hanging for any longer, and you are not only perceived as rude, it could cost your business in the long run. If you've unintentionally kept someone waiting longer than 24 hours, or extenuating circumstances arose, politely explain the situation and express your apologies. Don't use emojis. Those little winking, smiling icons are for text messages. They are inappropriate and unprofessional in a business email. Emoticons may divert emails to a spam filter or junk mailbox, and it can look immature and unprofessional. Do protect privacy. Email is public. Even though an email is deleted, online services and software programs can access messages on the hard drive. Before you click send, consider what may happen if a business colleague, your competitor, an employer, the FBI, or any unintended recipient reads your email. Think of it this way: how would my email look if it were posted on Facebook? Don't be negative. It's inappropriate to email negative comments. An email in all uppercase letters connotes anger in an email. These antagonistic messages cause awkwardness long after the email has been sent and received. If you must relay bad news via email, use objective words and state the facts. Face-to-face communication is best when relaying bad news. Don't be negative. It's inappropriate to email negative comments. An email in all uppercase letters connotes anger in an email. These antagonistic messages cause awkwardness long after the email has been sent and received. If you must relay bad news via email, use objective words and state the facts. Face-to-face communication is best when relaying bad news. Don't forget the conversation closer. By letting the recipient know that a response isn't needed, the email cycle doesn't continue on in perpetuity. Close with no reply necessary. Thank you again. See you at the board meeting Tuesday, or please let me know if I may be of further assistance. End your email with a closing such as best regards, sincerely, thank you, or another appropriate phrase. Subject-verb agreement. Subject-verb agreement means that subjects and verbs must always agree in number. Not only does a verb change its form to tell time, but it also can change its form to indicate how many subjects it has. For example, take the verb run. When we are in the present tense, the verb run changes form to show that its subject is singular when its subject is anything but I or you. Study the following chart. First person. Singular subject. I run. Plural subject. We run. Second person. Singular subject. You run. Plural subject. You all run. Third person. Singular subject. He runs, she runs, the boy runs. Plural subjects. They run. Did you notice that in the third person singular, an S was added to the verb form? The fact is that all present tense verbs have an S added to them when the subject is third person singular. Think for a moment about the verbs walk, run, eat, sleep, try, study, and work. Now, give these verbs the subject I. I walk. I run. I eat. The pronoun I is the only word that can be a first-person subject. Likewise, the word you is the only word that can be a second-person subject. The present tense verb for you remains the same as for I. You walk, you run, you eat. However, when we change the subject I or you to he or the cat, we must add an S to each verb. The cat walks, the cat runs, the cat eats, etc. This is a simple rule that most of us automatically use without even thinking, and it applies to every singular third-person verb in the entire English language, from walker walks to run runs to laugh laughs to cry cries. This also includes the helping verbs do does, is are, and has have. While we are not likely to write or speak the following sentences, I walks, they walks, the cat walk, if we do, we create a subject-verb agreement error. Subject-verb agreement errors are very serious and signal that the writer does not have mastery over the English language. Thus, it is important that writers understand the following 13 different situations that might cause subject-verb agreement errors. Because of these special situations, there are 13 corresponding rules to ensure that our subjects and verbs always agree in number. 13 Rules of Subject-Verb Agreement. 1. Two or more subjects joined by and are considered plural and require a verb form without an S. Example, Jan, John, and Bob walk to the store. Bob and his brothers walk to the store. 2. If a subject is modified by the words each or every, that subject is singular and will take a verb form that ends in S. Example, each boy and girl walks to the store. 3. If plural subjects are joined by or, nor, or but, the verb must only agree with the subject that is closest to it. Example, either Bob or his brother walks to the store. Neither Bob nor his brothers walk to the store. Not Bob, but his brothers walk to the store. Not Bob, but his brother walks to the store. 4. Indefinite pronouns are usually singular and take a verb form that ends in s. You will find a list of indefinite pronouns at the end of this handout. Example, everyone walks to the store. Everything comes back eventually. 5. The subject of a verb is never in a prepositional or verbal phrase. Therefore, you must isolate the phrase and find the proper subject. Example, the mother duck, with all of her little ducklings, walks to the store. The mother duck, including all her ducklings, walks to the store. 6. Some indefinite pronouns and nouns will be singular or plural depending on the object of the prepositional phrase. These words are always about number or amount, such as all, half, some, none, most, part, etc. Example, some of the students are gone. Some of the cake is gone. The mother duck and all of her ducklings walk to the store. 7. When a collective noun, such as family, group, committee, or class, is the subject, the verb will end in s. Example, my family with all my crazy cousins always walks to the store. 8. A few nouns, such as economics, mumps, measles, or news end in s, but are considered singular. You can tell these s words are singular because if you take the s away, you don't have a noun. For example, economic and new are adjectives that describe a noun. Mump and measles just don't make any sense. Example, economics is her favorite subject. 9. When the subject is a unit of measurement of time, distance, money, weight, etc. The unit is considered singular, and the verb will end in s. Example, 10 pounds of chocolate is too much to eat at once. 13 feet of kite string tangles very easily. 10. In a question or in a sentence that begins with there or here, the verb will often come before the subject. Example, where is my sweater? There are my sweaters. 11. The verb must agree only with the subject. Example, the biggest problem we face is all the squirrels that have rabies around here. 12. Gerunds-ing words can be subjects and follow all the same rules above. Example, running with ducks is my favorite sport. Running to the store and flying through the air are my favorite sports. 13. When using who, that or which, you must look to the noun these relative pronouns are referring to in order to determine whether the subject is singular and will have a verb ending in s, or is plural and have a verb without an s. Example, the girls who eat cake are happy. The girl who eats cake is happy. Words that can cause confusion with subject-verb agreement. Indefinite pronouns that always take a singular verb form. Anybody, anyone, anything, each, either, everybody, everyone, everything, neither, nobody, no one, nothing, one, somebody, someone, something. Peculiar pronouns and nouns that can be singular or plural depending upon context. Notice these all refer to amount. All, most, some, none, half, part. Common prepositions. Remember, a subject never shows up in a prepositional phrase, but these phrases often come between a subject and its verb. About, above, across, after, among, around, as, at, because of, before, behind, below, beneath, beside, between, by, during, except, for, from, in spite of, into, like, near, of, on, onto, over, past, through, till, to, toward, under, until, up, upon, with, without. Pronoun agreement. Pronouns that take the place of a noun must be either plural or singular, just like the noun they represent. Example: everyone has his or her own way of thinking. Correct. Everyone has their own way of thinking. Incorrect. All the rules of pronoun agreement are based on the rules of subject-verb agreement. Pronouns must also agree in person. Example: I love the beach because I can get a good tan. Correct. I love the beach because you can get a good tan. Incorrect.